Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another BlackSwanRadio.com production. I am your host, Rondell L. Jordan. Today I want to talk about the internet, right? And specifically income-producing activities. The internet. When I look into the internet and see what it has become, all I can think of is it's become a puppet show. A puppet show. One of the things I realize about a puppet show is if you're at the show and you stand up and you point out the puppet masters, say, hey, this is a puppet show. They're not real. This is not real. Obviously you kind of look like the foolish one, right? Because the people are there to watch the puppet show. And here goes this individual who is pointing out the obvious, which ultimately disturbs the joy, right? Spoils the joy, spoils the fun. So, as I'm looking at the internet, whether it's politics, I'm looking at the mental condition, the state of physical condition of, and mental condition of Joe Biden or Mitch McConnell. It's clear and present that these guys are not cognitive of rulership, right? They're not making decisions. There's evidently someone behind these figures. So what they say, they can't even really say it. They can't even get it out their mouths. And yet the message in the country goes on. And I'm looking at the internet, I'm looking at the social media, and I'm just like, well, it's a dating pool, right? People arguing about their expectations and the lack of fulfillment of those expectations. And it's the extremes, right? The extremes is what get clicks, right? Clickbait. So we can take the bait and then get caught up and fed the bull, right? We get fed the bait, and then what happens? We get caught up and snatched out of our atmosphere, right? And I always said to my sons and people who know me that, if I was a fish, I wouldn't eat worm. And I know all the fish, may believe this may be manna from the heavens, right? Worm is a delicacy. But I'm the type of person who kind of sit back and observe patterns. And, I'll observe the crowd before I become part of the crowd. Because I have no real desire to simply be part of the crowd. I'm cool with being my own person. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with being unique. And I'm cool with that might not be the popular or popularly accepted. Fine, so be it. We come in the world alone, and we're going to ultimately leave the world alone, no matter whether someone is right next to us or not. Whether that person next to us knows everything about us or not. What matters is what did you get out of this life, and what did you leave behind in the life. And if you did well, then what ultimately occurs afterwards will be well. My objective on the internet is very, very specific. And I want to use the internet as a tool, all right, as a asset, all right? And I want to be around others who have that common interest. How do we use this technology to create residual, sustainable financial stability? All right. How do we create additional income using the business tools provided on the internet? We have Patreon, we have PayPal, we have Cash App, we have Chime. We have video capabilities. We have the ability to create workshops. And we are amongst a pool of people. The problem is that we haven't really been taught to cooperate with each other. And that goes back to the Genesis. We don't know the rules of the game. Listen to this. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, "Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language. And this is what they begin to do. Now nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of all the earth. So you see, this is Genesis 11. This is about the Tower of Babel, which is the Pyramid of Giza, right? Which are aligned with the Orion Belt, the binary star system, Series A, Series B, the bright and morning star, the bright star and the hidden star, the star where the pyramids are aligned to, so that the soul ascends to the afterlife, where the ancestors are believed to go, right? Since spirit is lighted in air, it is thought to ascend like smoke, right? All right, so the Tower of Babel was called Babel. It was renamed by the Lords, which means it was an invasion into the land. They said, "Let us go down and there and confound," was the actual original word, which was switched to confused. But this is the Lord of confusion, the Lord of the red lands, Seth, named after Seth. This is the reason why in Genesis 4 concludes, "Then men began to call on the name of the Lord," and that is after Seth. And as for Seth, to him also a son was born, and the name of him was Enosh. Then men began to call on the name of the Lord. The Lord named after Seth. Seth was the Lord of the Red Lands. Seth invaded the Black Lands, right? And went to war, waged war against Assar. The Greeks renamed Osiris. And a Set, they renamed Isis. And Isis went on a quest to remember her husband, right? Because Seth dismembered and scattered the body of Assar or Osiris across the Nile River, i.e. turning the water into blood. War. So this is the reason why the symbolism of Moses turning the water of Egypt into blood and causing plagues upon the Pharaoh, the house of the Pharaohs. And this is also the reason why Jesus reversed the curse by turning water into wine, and then wine as a symbol of his blood. But that's for another study. Today's study has to do with this understanding that the Lord scattered the sons of Ham, right? Who was namely Canaan, but it says the families of the Canaanites were scattered, right? Were dispersed. That's specifically Genesis 10:18. Going into the story, it's an introduction into the story of the Tower of Babel. In Genesis 10, right, Babel was called Mizraim, right? Ham, the sons of Ham were Kush, which is the Nubian, it's in the south, right? Mizraim, which is Kemet, but it's the Arabic and Hebraic word for Kemet, because everything African has been either taken out of context, altered in a way to confuse the language so that we didn't understand the African origins, the African perspective, the African worldview. ParT and Kanaan, that's Genesis 10:8, right? And it says the sons of Kush were Seba, Havilah. Havilah is the first person mentioned in the Bible, right? He's the first person, the first lands that the Assyrians entered on the way down into Kush. Havilah is between Kush and Egypt. All right. And so Genesis is about the invasion of Kush, right? And then Genesis 10, all right, is going to tell you the before the Lord came down. This is the reason why it says Kush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one on the earth. He was the mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. Before the Lord came in, right? Before the Lord, this is Genesis 10, right? 8 and 9, this is before Genesis 11, 5, when it says, but the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. Well, they telling you Nimrod built these towers, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, Elkade, and Chaldea in the land of Shinar. See, this is where we're talking about. So this saying, telling you, this is proof that the towers were built by the Nubians, right? Kush begot Nimrod. And it says, from that land he went to Assyria and built Nineveh, Roberth Ir, Kala, and Rezin between Nineveh and Kala. That is the principal city,